Kamala Harris's campaign says it's raised upwards of $80 million since Joe Biden announced he was exiting the race. The quick cash haul, combined with some key endorsements, means the Vice President is consolidating her position to replace Joe Biden as the Democratic candidate for president. Our Washington correspondent Annalise Nielsen joins us with all the latest details now. Annalise, does this mean a Harris nomination is inevitable?
Well, it's certainly giving her some much-needed momentum, at this point in the campaign, given how much further behind she's starting just a few months out. The campaign said not only has she raised $81 million since Joe Biden announced he was leaving the race just over 24 hours ago. That's from 888,000 grassroots level donors, which is the exact kind of momentum that any presidential candidate needs. Now, we still haven't seen Joe Biden since this announcement was done via a letter on Twitter. We have, though, seen Kamala Harris today at an event on the South Lawn of the White House. She said that the president's recovering well from COVID. His symptoms are almost gone, and she used a big portion of this speech to pay tribute to what she says he's achieved in the last 3.5 years.
His honesty, his integrity, his commitment to his faith and his family, his big heart, and his love, deep love of our country. And I am firsthand witness that every day our President Joe Biden fights for the American people, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for his service to our nation.
Now, she's also received some very important endorsements from people who might be able to knock her out of the race if they wanted to. First up was Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House. She's posted on Twitter, "With immense pride and limitless optimism for our country's future, I endorse Vice President Kamala Harris for President of the United States. I have full confidence that she will lead us to victory in November." A number of other people who were being touted as potential rivals who could take her on for the nomination have come out and endorsed her. Of course, the most important being Joe Biden endorsing her as he announced he was leaving. But Gavin Newsom from California, Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary who fared better than Kamala did in the 2020 primaries. Elizabeth Warren, senator, was seen as a potential, given it's probably her last chance to have a go. Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, Andy Beshear from Kentucky, Wes Moore from Maryland, J.B. Pritzker and Josh Shapiro have all come out and endorsed Kamala Harris, which is a big move of momentum on her behalf. But what we see is very much this has already been a pivot on the Trump Vance side of the ledger. We've seen J.D. Vance take aim at Kamala Harris at a speech earlier today.
Yes, I think that a lot of people would like to see a mini primary. That's the process. Find out if you have the strongest candidate, whether it be Kamala or whoever else. Let me make it very clear to you, Tony, I am not going to be a candidate for president. I'm a candidate for basically speaking for the middle of this country.
When I see her give a speech, and she talks about the history of this country, not with appreciation, but with condemnation. And look, of course, every country, just like every family, certainly mine, has its pockmarks, right? Not everything's perfect. It's never going to be. But if you want to lead this country, you should feel grateful for it. You should feel a sense of gratitude. And I never hear that gratitude come through when I listen to Kamala Harris.
Pete, sorry, I forgot we also had independent Senator Joe Manchin in there. He was being touted as a potential to knock Kamala out of this race, that he would potentially change his party registration to Democrat to join the fray, to be the party nominee. But he's now clarified that, as you heard there just before. What we've also seen happen is Republicans on Capitol Hill come out very quickly. They were anticipating for some time that Kamala would be taking over at this point. Mike Johnson, the Speaker, has said that this is not a democratic process for the Democrats, that they should have had open primaries to give them a proper choice and shouldn't just be parachuting in Kamala Harris this late in the game.
14 million people went through the process and chose this nominee, Joe Biden. Now a handful of people have gotten together and decided he's no longer suitable. That's not how this system works. They are violating democratic principles. And I think that's a real problem, and I think there'll be a lot said about that in the days ahead.
So you expect lawsuits, plenty of lawsuits?
Well, look, if it violates the rules in some of these states, I expect that there will be litigation over that. So.
Again, Pete, we haven't seen anything from Joe Biden since he was diagnosed with COVID last week. We haven't had a White House press briefing again today. We've been told that Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre will be appearing on daytime TV show The View tomorrow.
OK, we're also keeping eyes on Kamala Harris in Biden's state of Delaware at the moment.